Hey, shalom, shalom. Ayawam Tawab. Yuam Shanya Shabawai Shalash Chadash Arabai, which is today is the second day of the week, of the third week of the month, of the fourth month, which is April. All right, shalom, shalom. Anak Nawaha Ay Bari Sha'Allah Walakim La'atam. Call Shabawai Baharacha Wa Kakshaw Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh. Hey, we the Hebrew Israelites coming to you week in and week out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh to preach to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians, and Israelite foreigners. Nacham Atam Kaya Hamalakwath Hashemayim Korab, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call Halayim La Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Bahasham Racha HaKodash Wa Mashana Kabadim Zakwim Nawa Wa Malaakim Shari Shalas Kwim Racha Gada Wall Wa Chasa Wa Shalawam Wa Barakim Laha Bachayim Shal Gabayash Allah Shalom. All right, so all praise to the Most High Yahweh, which means He exists. Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shah, He delivers. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Israel, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and mercy, peace, and blessings to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom, which means peace. Adawam Ratazaza Banayapa, Lord's will. This is a beautiful edification through the Spirit. Amatam Chasar La Yadai Ma Amartaya Bahama Bawa'a Yalak La Dabaryam. All right, so if you're curious to what I just said in the Hebrew, you can reference my my about section on my page. All right. So today's lesson is entitled, Salat, give me a second. It's entitled LaBanawath Shal Dabaryam. All right, again, LaBanawath Shal Dabaryam. So basically, Banawath or LaBanawath, going into the building, Shal is of, Dabaryam is words. And then I got in parentheses, or the little, not parentheses, parentheses, spelling, you see, but I didn't want to put spelling because that's how they say it in English, you know. But continuing on, so I have basically 5 subtopics. Maya is for who, the hopeful elect. Ma, basically spelling loosely. Ma is how, or Ma is what, Salak. Ma is what, all right. So what is it about? So today's lesson is about spelling, so to speak. Mathia, when, call Yuam all the time, which this essentially is going to help with understanding, with prayers, and then, if, someone asks a question, to edify, basically. Ayah is where, so I have nothing in that subsection. So Lama, why. So pronunciation is going to help with pronunciation. All right, pronunciation is imperative because it's going to help with reading, being able to identify words and what's being spoken about. All right, and then in general with communication, it's going to help with communication to edify. All right. So the first thing I have is Yadai Ha-Ra'ash. Yadai Ha-Ra'ash. All right, so Yadai, no. Ha-Ra'ash is the beginning of the beginnings, or basically the basics. All right, so let's get a precept. This is 1 Peter. It's a lot. It's 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 2. It says, as newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. All right, so pretty much going to the basics. Yadai Ha-Ra'ash. All right, know the beginnings, know the basics. So when you get this word milk, chalab, zama anakna, wa milk by baryat, that's how you say milk in Hebrew, chalab. So it says milk, a metaphor for the less difficult Christian truths, which will be mashiyakim. All right, pretty much the followers of the anointed. So that milk, chalab, going into the basics. So what will be the basics of Shal Dabaryam of Hebrew? So the basis would go back to the alphabet. You're gonna know the alphabet, all right? Because with the alphabet, you're gonna understand the sounds of each character, all right? Mayan za anaknawa tazamak la, get further understanding by going into the basics, all right? So from from that, we are able to grow to get further understanding of the words. All right. By going into the basics, the alphabet, you're better able to pronounce the words, and get the correct understanding. All right. All right. Again, Salak, Shal Dabaryam. So understanding the root words by Ibaryath is going to give you a good understanding about what's being spoken about, all right, and how to better be able to spell a particular word. All right. So I'm gonna get some precepts, but I'm gonna go to this article real fast. And I'm gonna start right here. It says, once we understand how to properly interpret and define Hebrew words based on their relationships to their roots and the culture in which the words were used, we can then properly interpret biblical passages from a Hebraic perspective. All right, so by understanding the root words, you're able to get a good understanding about what's being spoken about. All right, and we can get a couple examples out of YaHalam. So it says, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. All right, in English, you got a certain thought processing about, all right, so, all right, keep, that means that you got to do them, which you do have to do them. All right, but it's going to go a little bit more. It says, our normal understanding of the word keep within this verse is to obey. However, this is not the case, which is not the only case, but it is the case. It says the Hebrew verb used here is shamar, which literally means to guard or to protect, you see. So when you read it in English, you like, okay, somebody without understanding, they'll read it and say, okay, so you just have to do this and that's it. It have seemed to them as a job or something that you just forced to do, so to speak. But a ball, it says they will turn. Salah, it says, which literally means to guard or to protect. You see, when you guard or protect something, like you're doing it with your life, because that is your lifeline. You see, and let's get that real fast. This is Dabaryam, also Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 4. It says, but ye that did cleave unto the Lord your power are alive, every one of you this day. It says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my power commanded me, so that ye should do them, that ye should do so in the land whether ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. All right, so you're going to guard it with your life. You see, it goes into keep, but it's more understanding on that, because when you guard something, are you upholding it? Because going back up to verse 4, those that cleave unto the Lord, that keep the word, they're alive. You see, because when you keep the word, you're alive. All right. And not only going into keeping, as well as upholding it. Like you keep it as you meditate on the word, day in, day out, all the time, because it literally does keep you alive. All right. I'm gonna keep going. It says, they will turn to other gods and serve them and despise me and break my covenant. Because, well, again, going into guard and protect, that's going into shamar, upholding it. All right, it says, I'm going to skip down. It says, similarly, our normal understanding of break within these verses to disobey, which it goes into that. It says, but again, this is not the case. It's some more understanding on it. It says, the Hebrew verb here is parar and means to trample underfoot. And that's essentially what we did, when we sinned against the Lord. Making the, I'm going to keep going. It says, the keeping or breaking of the commandments of the Most High is not about obedience and disobedience and totality, because it's more understanding on it. It says, it is about one's attitude toward them. And it goes into the attitude as well. We will guard and protect them as we would our family, or it says protect them as we would our family, or will we throw them on the ground and trample them as we would garbage. Because breaking goes into that as well. All right, making the word of the Lord void. Treating it as if, it's not important. You see, cause that's what breaking goes into essentially, as well as disobeying. Because if we're doing that, we're not keeping them. And again, keeping going into upholding it to the highest extent. You see, because essentially that's what keeps us alive. But without going into Iboriath, you wouldn't have an understanding of that if you didn't have any understanding. That's how we're able to get an understanding on the different words, because we have the Hebrew, But continuing on, the Hebrew and the proper understanding of the scriptures. All right. Continuing on, going back to we were at basically getting root words. So I'm gonna get the word Israel. Which we know Jacob was surnamed Israel, YaHalam. Okay, and we know those that descended from him are the 12 tribes known as the nation of Israel. You see, but when you identify, okay, Israel, like in the ancient world, when you talked about the Israelites, that gave a certain connotation or a certain thought processing. Okay, those are the people of the Lord. All right. So let's get this. When you hear YaHalam, all right, when you're able to identify the root words, because pretty much big words are just a lot of little words together. All right, so he, Prince, power. All right, so he, all right, you see an Israelite, he a prince of the power. All right, because this root word is one of the words in here is Yah, he, Shar, all right, going into prince. All right, Allah, power. All right, he a prince of the power. All right, let's get another one. This is, because if someone, without understanding saw Israel, they'll say, okay, just Israel, or they might think of, the gutter rats over there, but by Iboriath, you get the root words, you'll get a further understanding. All right, let's get another one. This is the book of Genesis. So usually in English, you see Genesis and you're like, all right, that's the first book, unless you went and actually looked up what Genesis meant. All right, because the book of Genesis is Barashith. All right. And when you look at it, it says in the beginning. All right. And it's just a bunch of big words put together, or it's a bunch of smaller words put together. It says Ba, which is in, Ra'ash means head. All right. And then Yath, Barashith. All right. When you go into this root word, it says Ra'ashith. Well, I'm going to get the root word. It says head, top, summit, upper part, chief, total, choices, the head. So pretty much it says excellent, first, forefront, be head, height, priest, lead, poor, principal, ruler, some, top. All right, so first and forefront. So by getting that understanding on the root word, you like, all right, you hear, all right, Ra'ash, it's in the beginning of the scriptures. Barashith. All right, going back. Let's get another one. This is the word elder. Or the word that I'm going into is Zaquanyim Nawa. All right, so like you might hear that and think it's just like a big word, but if you break it down into smaller subsections, you'll have a better understanding of the words. All right. So let's get Exodus 4:29. It says Zaquanya. All right, but the word was Zaquanyim Nawa. All right, so Zaquan, it says old of humans, elder of those having authority. All right, so when you hear Zaquan, all right, hey, this is an elder. All right, and then you hear the Yam. All right, having an understanding on the, the other parts of the words is imperative as well. Plural, singular. Yam makes it plural, or Rabium, Rob, or Rabium means plural, many, a multitude, multiple. All right, so having an understanding on the plurals and the singulars, but we're just gonna stick to the root words right now. So Zaquan, you see Zaquan in the word, you like, all right, it has to be one of these subsections right here in the outline of biblical usage. when it registers in your mind. All right. And let me get this last one, which is the word for diamond. So the word right here is YaHalam. It says a precious stone known for its hardness. All right. It says a kind of gem so called from the idea of striking. It says the ancient translators sometimes rendered this by diamond, sometimes by emerald, sometimes by jasper. But this last is certainly incorrect for Eze lock. Well, I'm keep going. Says it is joined with Yashapa, which can hardly be doubted to be jasper, which Yashapa is going into jasper. But nevertheless, going into this, it says a kind of hard gem, so from the idea of striking. All right. So the base word in diamond is halam. All right. Which the scriptures go into its simplicity in Hamashiach. All right. Which I'm going to get that out of YaHalam Lord's will. Because when you go into this root word, in the ancient world, by hearing, hey, YaHalam, all right, this is a diamond. You hear that base word halam, all right, you understand, hey, it's known for its hardness. So you knew what you had to do in order to work with this particular type of stone, bond. All right, so I'm going to click on this because diamonds are known for their hardness. It says to smite, strike, hammer, strike down. It says by implication to hammer, stamp, conquer, disband, beat down, break down, overcome, smite with the hammer. Hey, so by having this understanding on different diamonds, you like, okay, or by having the understanding on the root word, you're like, okay, well, this is what you have to do. It shows the simplicity and the wisdom, basically in everything, you see. Whereas in English, it's kind of like, all right, you got English is it's a bastard tongue because they take different words from different languages, Whereas with YaHalam Hebrew, all right, you hear certain things that give you a certain thought process. And all right, so like the words we got, as well as Yerakwa, which is Jericho. All right, so by hearing that, you like, all right, it has something to do with the moon because the moon is Yerak. All right, or if you hear like Atazabai, all right, which Atazabai goes into finger. All right, you hear the wath, yeah, it makes it plural, but you heard that the word Atazabai, so it got something to do with fingers. All right. But going into this root word, diamond, they're super. It says, this one right here from Blixers, it says, can you shatter a diamond? You'd be surprised. To answer the question, no, it is not easy to shatter a diamond, but they are breakable if you try hard enough. Again, going back to how hard it is. It says, can a diamond break? It says diamonds don't shatter when dropped. However, they can chip or break from powerful blows. You see, but going back to its root word, you understand, hey, you got to hammer it, you got to like stomp on it, you got to conquer it. You see, you got to beat it down. It says smite with the hammer, you see, because if you hit a diamond hard enough with the hammer, you're able to to break it. Or you like if you use like a diamond saw, you got to use itself to break itself down, because again, a diamond is known by its hardness, which going into its name, Halam, you understand this because you heard that. All right. I'm gonna get a precept, and again, out of YaHalam, this is edifying. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 3. It says, but I fear lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve, Chaya, through his subtlety, so your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Hamashiach. Hey, so it's simplicity in Hamashiach. All right, and then it's applying this to the language, the words. Just by hearing certain things, it just registers in your mind like, hey, this is what's being spoken about. All right, you hear the word ayan. All right, it has something to do with the appearance. It has something to do with the eye. All right, and what does the eye do? It recognizes appearances. It recognizes colors. It recognizes, it registers something in your mind when you hear the root words, you see. So Lord's will, that was a beautiful edification through the spirit. Again, it goes into this lesson went into the building of words, basically spelling, so to speak. LaBanawath Shal Dabaryam, the spelling of words or the building of words. So Lord's will, that was a beautiful edification through the spirit. A double honor to the elders and the apostles of great millstone that told me the truth and rule well. And much respect to you brothers out there pushing the truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. YaHalam to YaHalam. Shalom.